Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to RPG Maker Cola.
Hey RPG Maker Cola listeners, welcome to RPG Maker Cola Season 2. This is your fizzy soda-filled source of content for game development opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. It's your favourite RPG Maker podcast, RPG Maker Cola. I'm your host Benny, also known as Cash, also known as the Puzzle Snob, also known as your coolest friend you have, maybe, and this is the place for you. It's a chill space where we get together skilled developers from the RPG Maker community to chat cordially and occasionally non-cordially about game development, game design, and probably a whole bunch of unrelated other stuff too. It's casual, it's cool, it's cola. And this right here is a little Minisode. A little morsel for you, something a little bit different. Usually we have a tighter schedule in a longer form episode, but this time it's all together. Pairing it right back to the essential questions you, our dear audience, have asked. Yes, you. And also, of course, I'll put some of my own little personal questions in there. But first, you better know we've got a guest, a very fine one. Because we always do, except this time, it's just one person. And I know you're going to love this person because they're truly special and have been an integral part to the RPG Maker history as a whole. You might already know their name, in fact, if you have used one of the early makers, because it's in the title of this episode, first of all. And you know this whole shindig by now, but I'm going to pretend like it's still under wraps. RPG Maker is an engine that allows anyone and everyone to use a very usable user interface to create video games and achieve your wildest dreams. But this didn't used to be accessible to everyone. In fact, in April of 2000, RPG Maker 2000 was only released in Japan in the native language of Japanese. It was, however, a Russian student who translated RPG Maker 2000, RPG Maker 95 as well, into English and began to distribute it. It's arguable that without this initial act of joyous rebellion, RPG Maker would not be as popular as it is today, and I fully believe it. When the company ASCII discovered he was distributing the programs against their will, he was threatened with legal action and ordered to take down his download links. He did as he was asked, but by that time, the Translator program was already gaining popularity and people began distributing it independent of him. This is how I personally came to discover game development, by using his translation of RPG Maker 2000 and playing his game Don's Adventures, sometimes titled Don's Sample Game, a lovely example game that concerns the adventures of Don, a puppy named Flayed, a fire cave that leads to a castle, an arrest by a king, and an escape, a zombie named Bhutan, and an airship named Laputa ascending to a glorious fight with mystic knights. The language that was used was named Donglish, lovingly, a portmanteau of Don and English. It describes the creative translation of RPG Maker 2000 into English by the author, and fans referred to the translation lovingly as such. You can probably guess by now that this is the guest who is with us today. A grandfather of RPG Maker games, allowing us to enter into the game development hobby. The entire game development sphere was affected by his actions. Nowadays, he's creating Zabuyaki, a beat-em-up using the Love 2D engine. The sole programmer working alongside graphics guys Stifu and Gege, along with audio engineer Juhani Junkala, Zabuyaki is an old-school side-scrolling brawler game that is currently far from finished, but you can still try it now on their website zabuyaki.com. I am extremely proud to have this legend on board the podcast. It is the one, the only, Don Miguel.
Back then, I used to greet people like this, yo-yo my little yomis. Oh, it's embarrassing today. No, it's fine. Actually.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks for being here and answering the community's questions. Usually in our regular episode, we'll do some other sections first, but I figure why wait? Let's dive right into those questions. Let's dive into the question box. Welcome to the question box. This is the segment where RPG Maker community users ask questions related to game development and design that we probably don't know the answers to, but we're gonna try. Kashmir from the RPG Maker Caller podcast asks, how did you first discover the Japanese versions of the software RPG Maker 2095, and what motivated you to bring them to the world, uncovering this entire translation to the world as you did? What were the events of your life that led to this? In short, what's your story?
You know, I love classic JRPGs. I browsed the internet for unofficial English translations of Japanese RPGs. Then I found a site with Kanji Hack's partial translation of some RPG Tsukuru ROM. I believe it was a SNES version. I ran it and I was quite excited with the whole idea of a visual RPG editor. Back then I used to make many games by myself and level editors for them, but RPG Tsukuru had more options. It was like a visual scripting language. However, the graphics was poor and I didn't see anything that might resemble the RTP packages, which you know. Anyway, it took me about 20 minutes and I got bored. But I continued browsing the same site, its forums, and found an unfinished translation of RPG Maker 95. The project was way bigger and cooler, and better translated by Kanji Hack. I dived into the RPG Maker 95 like a crazy person. There were many few untranslated buttons, graphics like icons, and fully untranslated text which wasn't included into the file resource. Anyway, that unfinished Kanji Hack's stuff let you play, guessing some stuff. I used to play many games in Japanese with zero translating. It was like a game in a game. Guess the gameplay. Okay.
Yeah. True Cinder from the RPG Maker Central Discord asks, I got a question. How does it feel to be a living legend?
I feel as a dude with several living legends in the same body. Back then I was a student, so that feeling it cured some of my complexes and added more ones over the previous ones. You know, the time of the RM2K and RPG Maker 95 translation was shared between my full-time work and the evening university. It's about 4 hours every work day, but still RPG Maker stuff was very interesting for me. Today I avoid remembering the RPG Maker 2K times, and I forgot the Life Legend stuff many years ago.
Yeah. Steele from the Studio Blue Discord asks, when you started putting out the translations, was there even an inkling to you that RPG Maker would explode in popularity so much?
Yes, I was into the game dev then, and I wanted to use RPG Maker stuff to make my own games and to make common school pupils, students, make their own games. But I didn't think about making a site and providing unofficial support for the RPG Maker community at all. I thought that my work is done once the fully translated RPG Maker 95 is uploaded on the same forum. Also, I wanted to make the Russian translation of the makers, because I had a lot of friends that used to make computer games. Alas, not everybody could spend some time to finish a simple RPG. Alas. The popularity of RPG Maker 2K was growing with a snail's pace here. Nowadays, there is a big Russian RPG Makers community.
Punkit on Twitter asks, First of all, thanks so much. You're the reason I'm a game developer. Second, what were some difficulties you weren't expecting to encounter when translating the engine?
You're welcome. Sometimes I forget. It wasn't me who created the maker, but still I spent so many years to hype up its popularity. The main difficulty was I didn't know Japanese. There weren't any Google translators. There were some problems with the proper displaying of the kanji fonts on my system. I bought a few Japanese Russian dictionaries in paper. Some friends from Moscow presented me with an even bigger dictionary, and I found two Japanese to English offline translators software. And still, it was hard to understand and enter kanji stuff. I used to browse paper books, comparing the glyphs with my eyes. It was damn boring. Although the easiest part of the translation was made by Kanji Hack. As I said, their team has translated the resource part of the editor. Of course, those guys had a lot of books and knowledge. I couldn't find any dictionaries in my local shops. Damn capitalism. Just kidding.
Awesome answer, great answer. Z-Serve from the RPG Maker Caller Discord asks, were you ever given any sort of legal notice to stop from Kadokawa during the projects?
Nope. My email was public, and I got the very first warning from Kenji Sugiuchi. He was Mr. Editor-in-Chief at Enterbrine Incorporated.
Ah, nice. And did you ever see your translations having the impact that they did on the English-speaking RPG Maker community to the point that you're still a household name all this time later?
Nope, never. My plans were only about Russian community, but I failed. I mean, the Russian community was dead. It was empty. It was disappointing. I'm talking about RPG Maker 95 times now. I never wanted or imagined some household stuff back then. I wanted the soft to be released in Western countries, at least. Some Japanese users of RPG Maker told me it's never released outside of Japan because all the gaijins and somehow gaijins are somehow special. It sounds a bit racist nowadays, though. I felt as a double gaijin then.
And when RPG Maker 2000 came back in an official capacity, did Kadokawa ever get in touch or anything like that?
Never. Why? I removed the RPG Maker 2K downloads immediately after a few emails from Enterbrine. I believe they never wanted to release RPG Makers abroad. It was strange to read some sentences like, "We are not releasing it abroad because of Don Miguel's shield."
It's quite funny. Yeah. Vicaria from the RPG Maker Caller Discord asks, can you describe the community before and after the release?
Which release? I translated RPG Maker 95 too fast. So I didn't see the community before Don's translation. So the community was constantly growing. I saw some translations to other languages based on my English translation.
Right. And did you have any assistance on translating the software? How did you translate it, and did you modify the engine entirely?
I used hex editing soft, some debugging soft, resource editing soft. The translation of RPG Maker 95 made me get a lot of soft skills and tools. The most efficient tool was made by a Czech Republic company. I was their beta tester and had the soft legally. This software let me make translations of any updated RPG Maker editor or game player quite fast.
Huh. They ask also, how long did it take you to translate the software?
I finished the translation of RPG Maker 95 in 2 days. Then there were a few releases and bug fixes of both the editor and the game player. Also, there were more than one version. The resource files were translated almost instantly, but the hex part was hard. You had to locate and translate everything from scratch. By the way, it took me about 2 hours to translate RPG Maker 2K from scratch. Yes. I had problems with sample games though. Also, all the original sample games for RPG Maker 2K were so simple and boring. From the coder's view, of course. And I wanted to show RPG Maker 2K's supremacy over RPG Maker 95 so badly.
Was there anyone else who wanted to translate the first engines?
I remember only Kanji Hack. I never talked to them nor interacted with them. I just got their unfinished work from the forum, just it. They gave up on the translation. And I remember only some dudes that continue translating RPG Maker 2K after me. Telling true, I recall just one name, RPG Advocate.
Oh, true. And in your opinion, did you think that translating RPG Maker as of now has had a large impact in today's community, considering that Kadokawa has seen no potential in the Western market years ago?
Of course. The original authors were so slow and they didn't care about gaijins at all.
Right now, do you still have any motivation towards using RPG Maker?
My motivation is in my friends. I got some friends calls from the community. Some of those people help me make games nowadays.
They also ask, hot take, what do you think of RPG Maker as of now, considering the multiple transitions from one scripting language to another in the recent iterations, as well as the increasing system requirements as of late?
I teach children programming lessons for many years. I did it even before the RPG Maker 95 translation. I just finished the school back then. And I see that pupils struggle on transition from point, click, add a block, like Scratch, to a pure scripting. In short, any game maker's soft should contain two approaches. A block-based one plus scripting one for fine-tuning. I don't like any migration from script to script. But what are you going to do if you used a bad script from the very start? By the way, I do love Lua language.
I agree with that too. Blind from the RPG Maker Cola Discord asks, was there ever a moment when you stopped to truly take in the profound effect your translation project had on the English-speaking RPG Maker community? Did it feel surreal, or was it something you never really thought much about?
I was asking myself for same questions. Yes, there were some cases that made me feel surreal. All of such cases happened in my real life. Nowadays, I get the same feeling from some cool dudes with cool games in their portfolios that tell me, "Thank you, Don Miguel." As I said before, I had plans for Russian community only, but my plans have failed.
Ah, interesting. Mirak from the RPGmaker.net Discord asks, what are your thoughts on the fact that you were a big part in the surge of the English-based RPG Maker communities?
It has removed many Soviet stupid stereotypes from my head. For example, I was thinking that Russian programmers are the best. The RPG Maker community has shaped my thoughts. Now I see the same people everywhere, and I don't divide people by their country speaking language anymore. It was so stupid.
And on a side comment, when Don Miguel decided to do those translations, these timelines split. I don't think the current English RPG Maker landscape would have been possible without his contributions and those of others.
So true. We just gave you a 3-year head start. And our RPG Maker community was maintained by students for students. I cannot imagine something like that from the original authors. By the way, I used to regret the years of my time that I put into RPG Maker translating and support. Like, I wasted years of my own time not on my own game projects, but on some illegal shit.
Orochi from the RPGmaker.net Discord says, a question for Don Miguel. Nowadays it's a bit foggy what happened back in the transition from 2K to XP. I remember there was some sort of letter from Enterbrain, some C&D of sorts going on, cease and desist that is, and some surveys. Never knew if those were official or not. Wonder if it was possible to do like a recall of those events. Like, what was happening back then, just from a story preservation standpoint?
I keep all the emails from Japan. I think they didn't care about the Western market at all. But seeing our community, they have changed their minds. I don't really remember these surveys. I remember them as a try to cover the fact they were not going to release the makers abroad at all.
Another question, I've seen your interview with the Vela Makers people. It's in Portuguese, but they added English captions. Do you remember what other programs you found back when you worked at Translations, especially for the MSX and MSX2? I was wondering if by chance you found maybe Dungeon Manjiro or Dante 2, which were for the MSX and precursors for the RPG Maker.
Oh, thank you. I think it started from Dante 2. I called it RPG Tsukuru-rom in the previous answers. Later, only many years later, I was browsing MSX ROMs and found something like Dungeon Manjiro and a musical maker. I cannot remember it clearly. By the way, I love MSX in general, and my friends and I made a remake of King's Valley 2 game from scratch for a Russian clone, from Russian computer clone of Apple II. It was named Agat 9.
Also, how was the transition between RPG Maker 95 and 2000? How were the communities back then? When 2000 came out, did people jump to the new version right away?
As I remember it, many people instantly dropped their RPG Maker 95 games and started playing with RPG Maker 2K. I remember some frustration because of the low-res graphics in RPG Maker 2K, so you couldn't migrate your games from RPG Maker 95 to RPG Maker 2K, and I like to see some RTP-like compatibility in the recent RPG Makers. By the way, I think I never used RPG Maker 2003. I lost my interest and switched to MMORPGs emulator developing. I was in eAfina stuff, Ragnarok Online emulator. Also, I bought some RPG Makers at Steam. I wish we all could do it in 2000.
Cool. Thank you, Orochi, for those questions. We go on to Gene from the Studio Blue Discord. They ask, not sure if you can answer this yourself, but I'm curious, how many people added you as a cameo in their games? Back in the RPG Maker 2000 days, I was blown away by the demo that came with the translated software. Heck, I can still recall the music from the very first map without having touched the demo in 15 plus years.
Oh, it was so sweet and strange to see many clones or sequels of Dawn's adventures. I feel nostalgic on hearing the music from Dawn's Adventures too. I named a dog Flight after my favorite doggy. The same goes for Marcus the cat. At a certain point, the sample game started turning out a real game into the real game that needs a full story and content. You know, it is the sample still. I was planning to make my NVS2 game. Also, we started to make NVS comics and went to some comics festivals with them. I had many other interests. RPG makers were such a cool tool to tell you your own story. It was easier than writing a book, for example. Okay, back to Don's adventures. I found some sequels on Steam, some remakes. YouTube has some samples too. It presented me some sweet nostalgic moments. Thank you, Pulse. Before that, I finished the whole game with RPG Maker 95. It took me about 1.5 years to make a full classic JRPG-like game. The game title sounds racist nowadays, but here is our comic about my NVS game characters. You can check it on Webtoon.
Awesome. Thanks to Gary, Lentillian, 8-Bit Beep Bop, and others who submitted questions that I had to repurpose into other questions or combine with others to help flow. Thank you, all of you. Here's some more thanks from Dungeon Dev Dude. I don't really have a question, but wanted to say thank you because without your RPG Maker 2000 translations, I never would have entered the world of game dev. Thank you. Another one from Blue who says, yeah, thank you so much for bringing RPG Maker over to the States. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have official English RPG Maker releases today. Lord Blue Rouge says, I want to say thank you too. Waka says, add me to the thank you list. We probably wouldn't be here today if it weren't for him. And Blind says, same here.
Yeah, thank you too. By the way, there is a dude that said his thank you and made his one spiffy RPG game maker engine.
Cool, so that seems to end the community Q&A section of the podcast. And now that we've done that, let's go into our next section, the deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to quickly deep dive deep into Don Miguel's latest project, Zabuyaki. Zabuyaki is an old-school, side-scrolling beat-em-up made using the Love2D engine, with Don Miguel as the coding guy, Stifu and Gege as the graphics guys, and Juhani Jankala on audio. Don Miguel, tell us a little bit about how this game came to be. YouTube seems to show gameplay as early as May 2016. Was it you who created this game, or started it rather? What made you want to start work on Zabuyaki, and what was the initial vision for the game?
Stifu and I once wanted to make a cross-platform game project. Our first game, Whip a Wimp, was more a test drive of Coco's 2D JS engine. The game was quite slow on smartphones, so we continued looking for a nifty framework. We selected the Love2D framework and started working on the prototype for our game.
And what do you expect the game to be like eventually? What has your game become, and what do you think the game excels at doing?
We want to make a nice open source beat 'em up with some classic beat 'em up vibes. It should be a game that you want to play over and over. If you play the demo, you should see the smoothness of the player movements and the absence of the slow motion. I like experience. Thank you, Stifu. We have many moves per character. I like his animation and the graphic style. Currently, we get some help from cool artists.
Awesome. It's great to get help like that. One of the blogs I saw that Stifu wrote for this game seems to indicate you were in development hell for a little bit. This happens to a lot of projects, regardless of the talent involved. Were there any troubles you came across while developing, and how did you overcome them?
We work in our free time after work, so we have to keep our motivation high to succeed. Our main problem was a wrong priorities order. Although sometimes I struggle on inventing some wheels. Stifu makes all he can to make the project right. Thanks to him, we constantly progress.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sometimes when you have one person just kind of working through that, they can just get you through these tough times. Yeah. There's a playable demo available for this game, and it seems that regular updates are being posted on Twitter. Is what is currently available considered a quote-unquote playable demo that represents what's to come? If so, then that's cool, but if not, is there any estimate as to when you think a playable demo will be available that best represents the game? Any sign of when you might complete the game?
Our game demo updates automatically every day, so you may visit the game site and try it yourself. We are finishing the third part of the first stage now. On finishing the first stage, we are going to redo voices, sounds, and some other postponed stuff. Zabuyaki is made in a way to let people add in their players, enemies, and stuff.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, excellent. You can go check out Zabuyaki the Brawler at zabuyaki.com. There's a playable portion of the game available there. That's Zabuyaki, Zabuyaki.com. Also follow them on Twitter at Zabuyaki, or follow Don on Twitter at D0NM. That's at D0NM. Yeah, so Don, thanks for being on. Is there anything else or other projects that you'd like to plug or promote here?
You may want to check our previous project, Vipavimp. It is a procedure-generated 10 levels deep dungeon. Here you have just one action button, space, and you should help Jesus guy to reach the end of the dungeon.
And I'd just like to ask you one more thing. If you had one thing to say to the podcast audience, what would it be?
Please try our game, Zabuyaki game, of course. It is playable in browser. Just play the demo and tweet us your feedback. We will be pleased.
Excellent, excellent. I will actually be playing this game on stream this week. Coming up this week, I'll let you know via tweet. Go to RPG Maker Cola Twitter, and it'll be out on Discord and everywhere. I'll be playing on stream on Twitch. So yeah, it seems truly exciting, and the gameplay and graphics look really gorgeous. I'm thoroughly happy that you're still working on games and looking for what's to come. Thank you, Don. It's been my absolute thrill and pleasure to have you on board the podcast. I am truly honored.
Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to say that I love working together with Stifu on our game. I constantly learn new stuff and spend my game dev time with a friend, like in good old RPG Maker's times.
Awesome, sounds good. And until next time, I'd like to just say, our audience, thank you for listening. It's been awesome having Don on board. You've been great. Let's just keep casual, keep cool, keep cola. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Just keep making your games. Peace.